नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। अष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। Reading from Srimad Bhagavata Puranam, Canto number 3, chapter number 23, text number 14 through 15. दिव्योपकरणोपेतं सर्वकाल सुखावहं फट्टिकाभिः पटाकाभिर्चित्राभिरलङ्कृतं दिव्योपकरणोपेतं सर्वकाल सुखावहं पट्टिकाभिः पटाकाभिर्विचित्राभिरलङ्कृतं श्रुग्भिर्विचित्रमाल्याभिर्मञ्जुषिञ्जत् सदङ्घ्रिभिः दुकूलक्षौमकौशेयैर्नानावस्त्रैर्विराजितं श्रुग्भिर्विचित्रमाल्याभिर्मञ्जुषिञ्जत् सदङ्घ्रिभिः दुकूलक्षौमकौशेयैर्नानावस्त्रैर्विराजितम्. Translation by S.B.3.23.14-41. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. The castle was fully equipped with all necessary paraphernalia, and it was pleasing in all seasons. It was decorated all around with flags, festoons, and artistic work of variegated colors. It was further embellished with wreaths of charming flowers that attract sweetly humming bees, and with tapestries of linen, silk, and various other fabrics. Text number 16. Upari vinyasta nilayeshu pratak pratak क्षिप्तैः कशिपुभिः कान्तं पर्यङ्क व्यजनासनैः उपरि विन्यस्त नीलायेषु पृथक् पृथक् क्षिप्तैः कशिपुभिः कान्तं पर्यङ्क व्यजनासनैः. Translation and purport by His Divine Bhakti Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. The palace looked charming with beds, couches, fans and seats, all separately arranged in 7 stories. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. It is understood from this verse that the castle had many stories. The words Upari Vinyasta indicate that skyscrapers are not newly invented. Even in those days, millions of years ago, the idea of building many-storied houses was current. They contained not only merely 1 or 2 rooms, but many different apartments, and each was completely decorated with cushions, bedsteads, sitting places, and carpets. Text number 17. Tatra tatra vinikshipta nana shilpopasobitam marakata stalya Justam vidruma vedibihi. Tatra tatra vinikshipta nana shilpopa sobitam mahamarakata stalya justam vidruma vedibihi. Translation and purport by His Divine Bhakti Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Its beauty was enhanced by artistic engravings here and there on the walls. The floor was of emerald with coral dices. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. At the present moment, people are very proud of their architectural art, yet floors are generally decorated with colored cement. It appears, however, that the castle constructed by the yogic powers of Kardama muni had floors of emerald with coral dices. Text number 18. Dvasu vidruma dehalya bhatam vajra kapatavat Shikareshu Indranileshu Hema Kumbair Adisritam Dvasu Vidruma Videhalya Bhatam Vajra Kapatavat Shikareshu Indranileshu Hema Kumbair Adisritam. Translation and purport by Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. The palace was very beautiful with its coral thresholds at the entrances and its doors bedecked with diamonds. Gold pinnacles crowned its dome of sapphire. Text number 19. चक्षुष्मत् पद्म रागाग्र्यैर् वज्र बिट्टिषु निर्मितैः जुष्टं विचित्र वैतानैर् महार्हैर् हेमतोरणैः चक्षुष्मत् पद्म रागाग्र्यैर् वज्र बिट्टिषु निर्मितैः जुष्टं विचित्र वैतानैर् महार्हैर् हेमतोरणैः. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Bhaktivinoda Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. With the choicest rubies set in its diamond walls, it appeared as though possessed of eyes. It was furnished with wonderful canopies and greatly valuable gates of gold. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Artistic jewelry and decorations giving the appearance of eyes are not imaginary. Even in recent times, the Mughal emperors constructed their palaces with decorations of jeweled birds and with eyes made of valuable stones. The stones have been taken away by the authorities, but the decorations are still present in some of the castles constructed by the Mughal emperors in New Delhi. The royal palaces were built with jewels and rare stones resembling eyes, and thus at night they would give off reflective light without need of lamps. Text number 20. Hamsa parabhata vratais tatra tatra nikunjitam kritriman manyamanaihi swan adi ruhya cha. Hamsa parabhata vratais tatra tatra nikunjitam kritriman manyamanai swan adi ruhya cha. Translation and purport by Translation by His Divine Grace Bhaktivinoda Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Here and there in that palace were multitudes of live swans and pigeons, as well as artificial swans and pigeons so lifelike that the real swans rose above them again and again, thinking them live birds like themselves. Thus the palace vibrated with the sounds of these words. Text number 21. Viharasthana vishrama samvesha prang gana jirai yatopajosham rachitair vismapanam vivatmanah. Translation by purport by His Divine Grace Bhaktivinoda Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. The castle had pleasure grounds, resting chambers, bedrooms, and inner and outer yards designed with an eye to comfort. All this caused astonishment to the sage himself. Purport. Kardama, being a saintly person, was living in a humble hermitage, but when he saw the palace constructed by his yogic powers, which was full of resting rooms, rooms for sex enjoyment, and inner and outer yards, he himself was astonished. That is the way of a God-gifted person. A devotee like Kardama exhibited such opulence by his yogic power at the request of his wife, but when the opulence was produced, he himself could not understand how such manifestation could be possible. When a yogi's power is exhibited, the yogi himself is sometimes astonished. Text number 22. Idrak graham tat pashyanti nati pritena chetasa sarvabhuta shaya bija vignaha pravochat kardamah swayam. Idrak graham tat pashyanti nati pritena chetasa sarvabhuta shaya vignaha pravochat kardamah swayam. Translation by purport by His Divine Grace Bhaktivinoda Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. When he saw Devahuti looking at the gigantic opulent palace with a displeased heart, Kardama Muni could understand her feelings because he could study the heart of anyone. Thus he personally addressed his wife as follows. Devahuti had spent a long time in the hermitage, not taking much care of her body. She was covered with dirt and her clothing was not very nice. Kardama Muni was surprised that he could produce such a palace, and similarly his wife Devahuti was also astonished. How could she live in that opulent palace? Kardama Muni could understand her astonishment, and thus he spoke as follows. Text 23. Nimajyasmin hride viru vimanam idam aruha idam shukla kritam tirtam asisham yapakam drunam nimajyasmin hride viru vimanam idam aruha idam shukla kritam tirtam asisham yapakam drunam. Translation and purport by His Grace Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. My dear Devahuti, you look very much afraid. My dear Devahuti, you look very much afraid. First bathe in Lake Bindu Sarovara, created by Lord Vishnu himself, which can grant all the desires of a human being, and then mount this airplane. Purport. It is still the system to go to places of pilgrimage and take a bath in the water there. In Vrindavan, the people take baths in the river Yamuna. In other places such as Prayaga, they take baths in the river Ganges. The words Tirtham, Asisham, Yapakam refer to the fulfillment of desires by bathing in a place of pilgrimage. Kardama Muni advised his good wife to bathe in lakes Bindu Sarovara so that she could revive the former beauty and luster of her body. Text number 24. Satad Bartuhu Samadhaya Vachah Kuvalaya Kshana Sarajam Bibrati Vaso Veni Bhutamscha Murdajan Satad Bartuhu Samadhaya Vachah Kuvalaya Kshana Sarajam Bibrati Vaso Veni Bhutamscha Murdajan. Translation and purport by His Grace Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. The lotus-eyed Devahuti accepted the order of her husband because of her dirty dress and the locks of matted hair on her head. She did not look very attractive. Purport. It appears that Devahuti's hair had remained uncombed for many years and had become complicated in tangles. In other words, she neglected her bodily dress and comforts to engage in the service of her husband. Text number 25. Angam chamala pankena sanchannam shabalastanam avivesha saraswatyaha saraha siva jalashayam. Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Her body was coated with a thick layer of dirt and her breasts were discolored. She dove, however, into the lake which contained the sacred waters of the Saraswati. Text 26. Santaha sarasi veshmastaha satani dashakanyakaha sarvaha kishora vayaso dadarshot palaghandayaha. In a house inside the lake, she saw 1,000 girls, all in the prime of youth and fragrant like lotuses. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Cheva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet. Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtiki. Tam. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter number 23, Text number 27. Tam Drishtva Sahasothaya Prochuhu Pranjalayah Striyah Vayam Karma Karistubhyam Sadihina Karana Karavamakim. Tam Drishtva Sahasothaya Prochuhu Pranjalayah Striyah Vayam Karma Karistubhyam Sadihina Karavamakim. Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Translation and purport by His Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Seeing her, the damsel suddenly rose and said with folded hands, "We are your maidservants. Tell us what we can do for you." Purport by Srila Prabhupada. While Devahuti was thinking of what to do in that great palace in her dirty clothes, there were at once, by the yogic powers of Kardama Muni, 1,000 maid servants prepared to serve her. They appeared before Devahuti within the water and presented themselves as her maidservants, simply awaiting her orders. Snanena tam maharhena snapayitva vanasvinim dukule nirmale nutane dadur asyaicha manadaha. Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. The girls, being very respectful to Devahuti, brought her forth, and after bathing her with valuable oils and ointments, they gave her fine new spotless clothes to cover her body. Text number 29. Bhushanani parargyani variyamshi dyumanticha annam sarva gunopetam panam chaivamruta savam. Translation and purpose in this Bhakti Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. They then decorated her with very excellent and valuable jewels which shone brightly. Next they offered her food containing all good qualities and a sweet inebriating drink called asavam. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Asavam is an Ayurvedic medical preparation. It is not a liquor. It is especially made from drugs and is meant to improve metabolism for the healthy condition of the body. Atadarshe swam atmanam shrugvinam virajambaram virajam krita swastyayanam kanyabir bahumanitam. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Then in a mirror she beheld her own reflection. Her body was completely freed from all dirt and she was adorned with a garland, dressed in unsullied robes and decorated with auspicious marks of tilaka. She was served very respectfully by the maids. Snatam krita shiraha snanam sarvabharana bhushitam nishka graivam valayinam Pujat Kanchana Nupuram Snatam Kritasiraha Snanam Sarvabharana Bhushitam Nishka Graivam Valainam Pujat Kanchana Nupuram. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Here her entire body, including her head, was completely bathed and she was decorated all over with ornaments. She wore a special necklace with a locket. There were bangles on her wrist and tinkling anklets of gold about her ankles. Purport. The word Krita Shiraha Snanam appears here. According to the Smriti Shastra's directions for daily duties, ladies are allowed to bathe daily up to the neck. The hair on the head does not necessarily have to be washed daily because a mass of wet hair may cause a cold for ladies. Therefore, taking a bath up to the neck is ordinarily prescribed, and they take a full bath only on certain occasions. On this occasion, Devahuti took a full bath and washed her hair very nicely. When a lady takes an ordinary bath, it is called Malasnana, and when she takes a full bath including the head, it is called Shiraha Snana. At this time, she needs sufficient oil to smear on her head. That is the direction of the commentators of Smriti Shastra. Sronyor adyastaya kanchya kanchanya bahuratnaya harena cha maharhena ruchakena cha bhushitam. Sronyor adyastaya kanchya kanchanya bahuratnaya harena cha maharhena ruchakena cha bhushitam. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. About her hips she wore a girdle of gold. About her hips she wore a girdle of gold set with numerous jewels, and she was further adorned with a precious pearl necklace and auspicious substances. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Auspicious substances include saffron, kunkuma and sandalwood pulp. Before taking a bath, there are other auspicious substances such as turmeric mixed with mustard seed oil, which are smeared all over the body. All kinds of auspicious substances were used to bathe Devahuti from top to toe. Next 33. Sudata Subruvas Lakshna Sudata Subruvas Lakshna Snigdha Pangena Chakshusha Padma Kosha Sprudha Nilair Alakaischa Lasan Mukham. Translation and purport by His Youngest Bhakti Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Vijay. Her countenance shone with beautiful teeth and charming eyebrows. Her eyes, distinguished by lovely moist corners, defeated the beauty of lotus buds. Her face was surrounded by dark curling tresses. Purport. According to Vedic culture, white teeth are very much appreciated. Devahuti's white teeth increased the beauty of her face and made it look like a lotus flower. When a face looks very attractive, the eyes are generally compared to lotus petals and the face to a lotus flower. Yada sasmara rishabam rishinam dayitam patim dattatra chasta sahastribir yatraste sa prajapatihi. Translation and purport by His Youngest Bhakti Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Vijay. When she thought of her great husband, the best of the sages, Kardama Muni, who was very dear to her, she, along with all the maidservants, at once appeared where he was. It appears from these words that in the beginning Devahuti thought herself to be dirty and dressed in a very niggardly way. When her husband asked her to enter the lake, she saw the maidservants and they took care of her. Everything was done within the water, and as soon as she thought of her beloved husband, Kardama, she was brought before him without delay. These are some of the powers attained by prophet yogis. They can immediately execute anything they desire. Bhartuhu purastad atmanam stri sahasra vratam tada nishamya tad yoga gatim samshayam pratyapadyata. Bhartuhu purastad atmanam stri sahasra vratam tada nishamya tad yoga gatim samshayam pratyapadyata. Translation and purport by His Youngest Bhakti Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. She was amazed to find herself surrounded by 1,000 maids in the presence of her husband and to witness his yogic power. She was amazed to find herself surrounded by 1,000 maids in the presence of her husband and to witness his yogic power. Purport. Devotee saw everything miraculously done. Yet when brought before her husband, she could understand that it was all due to his great mystic power. She understood that nothing was impossible for a yogi like Kardama Muni. Next 36-37. Satam kritamalasnanam vibrajantim apurvavat atmano bibratim rupam samvita ruchirastanim vidyadhari sahasrena sevamanam suvasanam jato bhavo vimanam tad arohayat amitraham. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Bhakti Swami Srila Prabhupada. The sage could see that Devahuti had washed herself clean and was shining forth as though no longer his former wife. She had regained her own original beauty as a daughter of a princess, dressed in excellent robes, her charming breasts duly girded. She was waited upon by 1,000 Gandharva girls. O destroyer of the enemy, his fondness for her grew, and he placed her on the aerial mansion. Before her marriage, when Devahuti was brought by her parents before the sage Kardama, she was a perfectly beautiful princess, and Kardama Muni remembered her former beauty. But after her marriage, when she was engaged in the service of Kardama Muni, she neglected to care for her body like a princess, since there was no means for such care. Her husband was living in a cottage and she was always engaged in serving him. Her royal beauty disappeared and she became just like an ordinary maidservant. Now, after being bathed by the Gandharva girls by the order of Kardama Muni's yogic power, she regained her beauty, and Kardama Muni felt attracted to the beauty she had shown before the marriage. The real beauty of a young woman is her breast. When Kardama Muni saw the breast of his wife so nicely decorated, increasing her beauty many times. He was attracted, even though he was a great sage. Sripada Shankaracharya has therefore warned the transcendentalists that one who is after transcendental realization should not be attracted by the raised breast of a woman, because they are nothing but an interaction of fat and blood within the body. Text number 38. Tasmin alupta mahima priyayanurakto vidyadarivir upachirna vapur vimane babraja utkacha uvad ganavan apisyas taravir avrita ivodu patir nabah staha. Translation and purport by His Divine Bhakti Samashila Prabhupada ki Jai. Though seemingly attached to his beloved consort while served by the Gandharva girls, the sage did not lose his glory, which was mastery over his self. In the aerial mansion, Kardama Muni with his consort shone as charmingly as the moon in the midst of the stars in the sky, which causes rows of lilies to open in ponds at night. The mansion was in the sky, and therefore the comparison to the full moon and stars is very beautifully composed in this verse. Kardama Muni looked all like the full moon, and the girls who surrounded his wife Devoti seemed just like the stars. On a full moon night, the stars and the moon together form a beautiful constellation. Similarly, in that aerial mansion in the sky, Kardama Muni with his beautiful wife and the damsels surrounding them appeared like the moon and stars on a full moon night. Text number 39. Tenastalokapa vihara kulachalendra dronishva ananga shakamaruta saubagashu siddhair muto dyuduni hata shiva swaswanasu reme chiram danadavallaran varuti. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Bhakti Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. In that aerial mansion, he travelled to the pleasure valleys of Mount Meru, which were rendered all the more beautiful by cool, gentle, fragrant breezes that stimulated passion. In these valleys, the treasurer of the gods, Kuvera, surrounded by beautiful women and praised by the Siddhas, generally enjoys pleasure. Kardama Muni, also surrounded by the beautiful damsels and his wife, went there and enjoyed for many years. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Kuvera is one of the 8 demigods who are in charge of different directions of the universe. It is said that Indra is in charge of the eastern side of this universe, where the heavenly planet or paradise is situated. Similarly, Agni is in charge of the southeastern portion of the universe. Yama, this demigod who punishes sinners, is in charge of the southern portion. Niruti is in charge of the southwestern part of the universe. Varuna is the demigod, is in charge of the waters, is in charge of the western portion. Vayu, who controls the air and who has wings to travel in the air, is in charge of the northwestern direction, northwestern part of the universe. And Kuvera, the treasurer of the demigods, is in charge of the northern part of the universe. All these demigods take pleasure in the valley of Mount Meru, which is situated somewhere between the sun and the earth. In the aerial mansion, Kardama Muni travelled throughout the 8 directions, controlled by the different demigods described above. And as the demigods go to Mount Meru, he also went there to enjoy life. When one is surrounded by young, beautiful girls, sexual stimulation naturally becomes prominent. Kardama Muni was sexually stimulated, and he enjoyed his wife for many years in that part of Mount Meru. But his sex indulgence was praised by many Siddhas, beings who have attained perfection, because it was intended to produce good progeny for the good of universal affairs. Text number 40. Vaishrambake surasane nandane pushpa bhadrake manase chaitra ratye cha sere me ramaya ratah. Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Satisfied by his wife, he enjoyed in that aerial mansion not only on Mount Meru, but in different great gardens known as Vaishrambaka, Surasana, Nandana, Pushpabhadraka and Chaitraratya, and by the Manasa Sarovara lake. Brajishnuna vimanena kamaghena mahiyasha vaimanikan atyaseta Charallokan yata nilaha. Translation and purport by His Divine Bhakti Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. He travelled in that way through the various planets as the air passes uncontrolled in every direction, coursing through the air in that great and splendid aerial mansion which could fly at his will. He surpassed even the demigods. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. The planets occupied by the demigods are restricted to their own orbits, but Kardama Muni, by his yogic power, could travel all over the different directions of the universe without restriction. The living entities who are within the universe are called conditioned souls, that is, they are not free to move everywhere. We are inhabitants of this earthly globe, we cannot move freely to other planets. In the modern age, man is trying to go to other planets, but so far he has been unsuccessful. It is not possible to travel to any other planets because by the laws of nature, even the demigods cannot move from one planet to another. But Kardama Muni, by his yogic power, could surpass the strength of the demigods and travel in space in all directions. The comparison here is very suitable. The words yatha anilaha indicate that as the air is free to move anywhere without restriction, so Kardama Muni unrestrictedly travelled in all directions of the universe.